Welcome to As I Live and Grieve, a podcast that tells the truth about how hard this is. We're glad you joined us today. We know how hard it is to lose someone you love and how well-intentioned friends and family try so hard to comfort us. We created this podcast to provide you with comfort, knowledge, and support. We are grief advocates, not professionals, not licensed therapists. We are you.
Welcome back, everybody. We're so glad you tuned in again. We have another repeat visitor today, one that always makes me so excited to speak with her that there never seems to be enough time. So we keep asking her back. Today's guest is Ada Mae Brown, our psychic medium. And that's all I'm going to say about her. I'm going to ask her again to introduce or reintroduce herself to our listeners. Welcome, Ada Mae.
Well, thank you so much, both of you. My name is Ada Mae Brown, and I'm a psychic medium. That being said, that means I'm psychic, yes, but I'm a medium. That means I can speak to those in spirit. And I've been doing this professionally about getting close to 20 years. It's over 15 years now. And I've been like this my whole life. And it took until I was in my mid-30s for me to get hit over the head hard enough, kind of thing, to realize what it was. So I look forward to hearing the questions today and looking forward to the conversation. Here we go.
All right. Thank you so much. Ada Mae, one of the things that keeps coming back to me, and I think to Stephanie too, as we kind of mull some of the conversations we've had over in our minds, is we hear two terms. We hear spirit and we hear ghost. Now, while I think I may know the basic difference, I'm going to ask you if you would clarify for us what the difference is between spirit and ghost, please.
Okay. Now, a lot of people interchange the terms and they'll say the house has spirits. Well, technically, yes, but they have ghosts. Okay. Now, a ghost is someone who has passed that has not completely gone over, transitioned over, crossed over, however you want to say it. I use the term so that we can understand that these are our people. Spirits, those in spirit, however you want to say it, but for me it's spirit folks. Because these are our folks, these are our family. They're just in a different realm. They're just finished crossing over, going through a life review. They've gone through, however you want to look at it, a light, a bridge, a light on a bridge. But they've fully crossed over. They've fully transitioned. Ghosts have died. Those are people that have passed away. But for some reason, either through trauma or fear or both, they haven't fully crossed over. And they can at any time they want, normally, but they're afraid or they've been afraid. I've lived in houses that were haunted, had fun with some of them. Especially don't wake me up in the morning and do that before I've had my coffee, people, or you will leave now. Now, I did that. I literally said that. Somebody was in a Victorian house I had, and very quickly it was the home of the former headmistress or principal to an all-girls high school in the city I was living in. And when I did some research, it clicked that a lot of these kids passed away due to the influenza of 1918 onwards, 1917 onwards. And, it's common for that sort of thing to happen. But spirit folks are fully crossed over. Okay. Ghosts or house spirits, if they're stationary, they're people that have not fully crossed over.
Okay.
There are some people that help them to cross over. I don't do that anymore. To me, I leave that for other folks. But spirit folks, or spirit, as I refer to them, are people that have crossed over completely and utterly. They've gone through their life review, and they can hang around your house or Stephanie's house or whoever they want to, all at the same time, which is, to me, still baffling and fascinating.
So my mother, well, I really think she's a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But were she a ghost, for example, she could be watching over me and watching over Stephanie at the same time?
That's spirit, folks. Ghosts can...
Okay. Ghosts cannot.
Ghosts usually stay where they're at.
Okay, so they
If
would stay in
someone
one
passes
place. Okay,
away let's just say someone passes away due to, God bless, a car accident,
okay,
um, they can stay by that area,
okay,
or as I have had happen to clients, I've had a set of clients that I'm still wondering if the young lady passed away and fully crossed over because she stayed with her parents so much.
okay,
She stayed in their house. They tried redecorating her bedroom, you name it, and they could still sense that and hear that she was in there quite frequently. And she passed away several miles away.
okay,
So that one's again, there is no clear cut this or that with spirit folks.
okay,
So with someone that's in spirit, be it your mom, an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent,
mhm,
they can be with you at the same time. If they fully
okay,
crossed over, they can be with
okay.
you at the same exact time, which is,
Okay.
again, really cool. And to me, it's very puzzling at times, but I just
Okay.
Right,
accept.
right. That explanation is very, very helpful for me.
Mm-hmm.
And should our listeners be wondering why we, who want to talk about grief and help people get through their grief, get on their grief journey, move forward, not move on, it's because many of us take great comfort in knowing that there's still a connection with our
Right.
loved ones. And initially, when we broached the subject, I admit I was probably a professional skeptic almost. I was so against believing it was possible. But since I have opened my mind a little bit and had more conversations with various guests that we've had, I find myself seeing and experiencing more signs, if you will, that
Mhm.
lead me to believe that once I opened my mind, I'm I'm not a skeptic any longer. Let me just put it that way. I'm not a skeptic any longer. So to have this conversation for me does relate to grief in
Mm.
that many days I may see a cardinal, for example, like many, many of us do. Or for me personally, I may see a fox and it just immediately lightens and brightens my day because to me that's somebody is sending me a message. It's up to me to interpret what that message might be, but even if it to me is just letting me know that someone else is present
Mm-hmm.
in my life helps me immensely.
Mm-hmm.
So I just offer that as explanation, if you will, to our listeners. That's why we continue to have these conversations.
Yeah.
And I find probably, if anything, feeling and learning to feel the presence of those I love who have died helps me immensely. And I hope it helps you.
It brings me some comfort. Yeah.
Absolutely. It
Yep.
brings me a lot of comfort.
Now, as a woman that does this
Hmm.
as a profession, for everybody listening out there, I too was very skeptical. Now, I saw angels in church when I was sick, when I was little. I've seen family members when I was little. I've felt, known, and heard things my entire adult life and even in my childhood. But as an adult person who's gone to school and educated and this and that and was working towards a degree in biology at one time, working with computers, working on biology, doing the math stuff, you name it. I was skeptical. I was very, very skeptical.
Hmm.
And when I was told what this was, and I've had experiences where my dad's come to me in dreams time and time again, but applying and going through the motions of everything, I was skeptical. Keep a little bit of healthy skepticism, okay?
Hmm.
Always
Hmm.
do, but open yourself to in knowing that they're there, which to me is
Exactly.
Yeah.
it
Exactly.
helps me walk through the days.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially in today's world where there's so much heaviness and so
Yeah.
much turmoil, so much uncertainty.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
I've got a mom that's in a hospice situation right now. She's my adopted
Hmm.
mom.
Hmm.
She'll be if she makes it, she'll be 91 on the at the end of the month.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, 2 weeks ago, around that, just before Christmas, she's in a nursing home, and she had another fall. And they called me and told me this. And I said, okay. And the nurse said, it's really weird. She said she saw her dad, who's been gone for over 30 years. And yeah, Grampy's been gone for 30 plus years. And I said, that's awesome. And I had been very anxious about her whole situation until I know that she got up because Grampy was at the other end of the room, telling her, it's okay. Come on. We're getting there.
Yep.
And she told me when I talked to her on the phone, she heard her dad. She doesn't know why. And I said, I do.
Yeah. Is it likely that as people get closer to death, they will have these experiences?
Oh, yes. Because when we're closer that way, the veil is diminishing. It's our thinking mind. It's that part of us. We weren't brought up in a culture, real quick. We weren't brought up in a culture to believe this, to go to this, to feel it. So we have to open our minds a little bit. We were brought up in a culture it's this, and this, almost like somebody sliced bread in a bread slicer. Kind of thing.
Between religion and science, those two were prominent in my childhood, in my upbringing. And I think that's where most of my skepticism came from, truly.
Oh, yeah. So what we do is we explain it away normally. We explain it away, and we issue ourselves this reprimand of how dare we be unscientific and unreligious and unwhatever. And in reality, the faith, I believe in God. I don't care what name you want to give God, but I believe in God.
Right.
And that creative energies has saved my buns more times than I want to think about. Literally. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And those in spirit folks who fully crossed over work with that love. We've all got a part of that love in us. That's what makes us us. Okay. But with spirit folks, one of the ways that we open up is we start to feel that love just a little bit. Okay. That presence of them, but not them here. That you can see, some of us can see, some of us can hear, some of us can feel, some of us can do all of it.
Right. So as I get more comfortable with the concept of spirits and I get more accepting of it, I find that I notice more things that could be messages or instances where my spirit or spirits are letting me know that they're there, that they've not really left me, that they're there just in another embodiment, I guess I'll say, for lack of a better word.
How about realm?
So another realm. Okay. So the childish part of me, who sometimes reverts to what I consider to be a childish thought, only because it's a very basic, very innocent question. As we were all celebrating the holidays with family or by ourselves or on a cruise ship or wherever we were, what were our spirits doing? What do they do all day? and I don't mean that with disrespect, but only, we all want to know that question. What's the afterlife like?
Well,
so
I think I want to too at times, more fully.
Is there any information that you can offer in that respect, or is what you experience merely communication without any background like that for them?
No.
Does that make sense?
It does. And they communicate with everybody that wants the communication, and sometimes those that don't want the communication.
Right.
And I say that because I've heard from people that I didn't believe in this, I didn't think this, I didn't but this cup keeps falling in my kitchen, and that was Dad's place to sit, and I put this mug or this cup or this whatever in Dad's place in the kitchen, and thump, it keeps going on the floor. And he didn't believe in this either, and well, whether he believed it or not, he got to go through it,
Yeah.
What do they do? Well, okay. We talked a minute ago about they can be anywhere and everywhere at the same time.
Right.
Okay. So let's just say there's 4 kids.
Okay.
One's in California, one's in Montreal, one's down in Georgia, and one's in Kansas. Let's just use those
Okay.
as an example, because
All
those
right.
are 2 different time zones, or no,
Mhm.
3 different time zones,
Right.
and 3 different timings for celebrations.
Okay.
Let's say Dad and Mom have crossed over. They're in
Mhm.
spirit. So everybody's sad that
Mhm.
Mom and Dad are gone now.
Right.
You got the orphan feeling. You got the lost feeling. You
Right.
know, Mom's stuffing mix was fabulous. Tracy's trying to fix it and all this other stuff.
Mhm. Right.
But it's not the same. They're hanging out with you. They will try to give you smells, ideas. They will try and coax you with the stuffing mix if that's it. You might have lights all of a sudden go off or on. You
Mhm.
might say, you might be opening a book and all of a sudden a card falls out and you're going, well, that was from Mom and Dad 2 years ago. How did that get? I don't remember putting that in there. Spirit
Mhm.
folks can have fun.
Okay.
I'll give you an example from me. Okay.
Okay.
Now, I've recently moved and I'm a little OCD with labeling my boxes. And
Mhm.
in one box, it said games, puzzles, etc.
Yeah.
Now, my brother Carl has been in spirit now for 6, almost 7 years. Okay.
Okay.
2015, he crossed over. He had multiple handicaps, but in spirit, he doesn't have any. Okay. We can do that another time. So I'm opening this box of puzzles and stuff and going, is there anything in here that I need to bring out, that I want to bring out right now? Or is this going to be shoved in storage for a later time because I've got so much on my plate? I open it up. There is a Christmas card. It is November, just after Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
It is a red Christmas card with a white kitty cat in front of a fireplace. I open it up. It is the only Christmas card in there. I don't remember putting it there because, like I said, I'm a little OCD. The rest of the Christmas cards
Mhm.
in another package.
Mhm.
It says, with love, Mom and Carl.
Mhm.
And the hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and I'm like, okay, does this mean Mom's going to join you? Is this just a hello? What are we doing here,
Right.
Carl? I'd like some
Right.
answers now.
Yeah.
Now? We all
Did you
get
get
that
your
way.
answers?
What now?
Did you get your answers?
Well, she's still here with us,
Okay.
but it lets me know that Carl's one of the team that's going to bring her over, which
Okay.
will be fabulous.
Okay.
It gives me relief.
All right. Good.
So
Good.
when if someone is actively dying or whatever, and they say that they see one of their past loved ones, so that is probably their loved one trying to help them cross over.
Yes.
Okay.
We will frequently have those whom we love and have loved us there to help us cross over.
Okay. Because I
I
think
love that.
yeah, I think if people
I
are
love
aware
that.
of that, because sometimes
It'll help.
as your loved one is dying, you think, oh geez, they're having hallucinations, or your mind starts going. But I think if you can retrain your thought
Mhm.
and just go, oh, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
They're gonna
Yeah, like
help
I told
Yeah.
the nurse, I know why. I
right,
Yeah.
bet you do too. If you think about it for a minute, she's like, oh.
right,
Yeah. Well, I like that, and that would not have occurred to me actually.
yeah,
Well, let me tell you very quickly a quick story. I had 2 elderly neighbors in Tennessee. And I'll just call them Everett and Jane, okay? Just for the
Okay.
sake of argument. Everett and Jane were in their 90s. Everett and Jane had been married for about 70 years, or as her daughter-in-law said, for forever.
Mhm.
And Everett and Jane went to 2 separate nursing homes because they couldn't find facilities at the same
Mhm.
place.
Mhm.
Okay, which is, unfortunately, it happens, but it happens.
right,
Yeah, it does.
He passed away a month before she did. A month before she did.
Mhm.
She's laying in her bed, actively crossing, and the daughter-in-law is in there. The son had passed away, and she said, "Oh, Everett, you're here. Yes, we can go." And basically she said, "And you brought Jean with you." How
Oh.
neat. So both her husband and her son, she knew Jean had crossed. She didn't know Everett had crossed.
Okay.
They did not tell her because of the dementia.
Right.
Okay.
And Everett had been taking care of her when he got sick. I mean, from the time he left the house to the time he crossed over, I think was 3 days. It was very quick.
Okay.
With her,
Yeah.
not so quick, but still fairly fast. So she
Yeah.
saw both of them on the other side of the room, and she started talking to them, and within about 2 hours, she was gone.
Wow. Okay. But that probably gave her great comfort and helped her have a more peaceful death, a more peaceful crossing over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, another question that comes to mind, and I know there are many, many women out there that have lost an infant, whether through maybe even a miscarriage. I'm not sure about that. But I know my very first baby was a boy, only lived 24 hours. They're just a little less than 24 hours due to an infection that I got after my water broke while in labor. Do infants tend to become spirits? And that generates a whole segue. Do spirits continue to age? So, for example, if an infant becomes a spirit, what about them?
A baby, an infant, a child are all born with souls. We all enter. Okay, we're souls in a body. Let's wrap our heads around that. We are not a body, a human being. The soul, we are a soul that becomes a human being.
Okay.
Okay. And that soul enters and exits at different times in the development of the baby in the womb. Okay. We're going to go to.
All right.
Sometimes they're out of there like, okay, for a few minutes, I just need a break of this whole human thing. It's getting a little crowded.
Okay.
Go back in and keep the hell out of her and make her think she's got to pee more, but hey, we're good. Okay, I'm back in. There's the bladder. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. And they're born, and regardless of how long they live or if they even take a breath outside of the womb, my understanding is that baby, that soul that was going to be the person to grow up, is still a spirit, is still a soul. They cross fully over. Now, when I read for somebody, the soul, the spirit, however you want to call it, has shown me both as a baby to some women as a baby. And I believe the last time we did a session, I was being pointed to my baby angel that sucking its thumb in my living room, my former living room. For you all. And I've also read, albeit accidentally for a friend of mine, because there was a young man, very young, in the car. And she had to stop at the stoplight and pull over because the kid kept telling me 3 and kept showing me, I'm muy macho, I'm good, we're great.
Right.
And she'd lost a child and he was only 3 days old.
Oh my goodness.
But he showed up as a young man, about 21, 22. And that's how old this child would have been. So he used those symbols for me to translate to his mother, Mom, I'm okay. And this is 22 years after he died.
Right.
And I wasn't even a practicing medium at the time. But 3, he kept showing me 3 and 22. And it was he was being such a pest. I knew I had to tell her. Okay. So the soul, the person that was going to be, goes on. And it's their choice of how they represent themselves. Now, whether you believe in reincarnation or not, that's your stuff to go through and learn and decide, yeah, I do, or I don't. But if you think about it, we're all going to be babies multiple times. I had another skeptic moment for me. I had to learn to drop that skeptic veil because my neighbor's child that I used to help them with, because they had 4 kids and she was 26 and she was expecting the 5th.
Oh, bless her heart.
Yeah, bless her heart. As we say here in the South, bless her heart.
Yeah.
in more ways than one. But, I take the kids across the street to the park. It gave me kid time. All my kids had flown the nest. I got to kind of
Right.
get that grandma
Right.
thing going
Right.
on. Those little hormones going, okay, we're going to be a granny someday kind of thing. Maybe,
Yep.
practice time. And he kept saying, because the park had a creek, Grandma and me drowned it into creeks.
Oh,
And I thought, okay. So I mentioned this to his mom, and she said, oh, yeah. Now, fast forward 6 or 8 months later, the baby's born. They're out on their first little excursion, getting, leg room and what have you, with
right.
just a Sunday drive, an old-fashioned Sunday drive. And they're going in the back of the back country in East Tennessee, which is, as some of you may know, is Appalachian Mountain territory.
Right.
And he gets so excited. He jumps up and down in the back of the car in the car seat. He's all over the place. He wants them to stop. They stop, and he tells them about the house that they've stopped at, because he says, that's our house. That's our house. And it's this old, rundown, derelict house that somebody's trying to remodel and fix up, and they're doing all this work to it. And he runs around the house, and he tells them where everything is, and they look in the windows, and sure enough, he's spot on. And he said, we drowned in a creek back there. And he starts running back there. And at the same time, I'm reading Carol Bowman's book, Children's Past Lives. And I'm like, skepticism, here we go. And my guides and angels know they've got to show me. Give me the stuff. And he stood at a little bridge that was off skew, had been taken off of its landing. And he started crying. And he was very peaceful after that. They all got back in the car. And he said, that's where my granny and me drowned it. And he explained what had happened. And after that, he really never mentioned again, but he was less agitated, more peaceful. And he always had an eloquence beyond his years.
Yeah.
And so if we think about that kind of thing, we're all going to be babies. We might all get to be that great reward of being an old person. And it's a soul doesn't age. It may show us age. It may choose to show us age, or it may not.
All right.
But there's a lot of reading that one can do on that subject.
Okay. All right. That helps me understand that better. So it's not that someone crosses over, becomes a spirit, and continues to age or even stops aging. They are ageless, yet they can present themselves at any age in order to communicate.
Exactly.
All right. And that presentation of age sometimes is a part of the message.
I actually got fired from a job because a lady's grandfather showed up, and I told her about it.
Oh, dear.
She stayed up all night looking through old family pictures. I told her he had a grayish blue fedora hat, smart looking, dressed up. Said it was her grandfather. She swore up and down no. And to make it very short, she stayed up till about 1 a.m, found a picture, brought it to me in the office the next day, and I said, that's him. And it was him, and there were 3 people in that picture. Her as a baby, less than a year old, about 8, 9 months old, the man that I had described, and a tall, slender man with dark hair. And I said, that's him right there. She said, that's my grandpa. I didn't remember him like that. He's been dead for 30 years. And I said, well, he's not really dead. He's just in a different place. 2 days later, they fired me.
Here. Well, and you no longer use them for a reference, right?
That's it. Not on that
resume. Oh my goodness. Well, I hate to say it, but once again, time has flown by.
Gosh.
Our conversations always provide me with information, with insight. Today has been especially comforting for me, and I thank you for that. And you know that this is not the last episode that we will ask you. We will continue to invite you because you have such an excellent way of sharing information that just it just is so helpful
Well,
to me.
and talking with her brings you comfort and helps you understand things more, but then later it presents with thousands more questions. That's why we have to keep
Well,
having her
absolutely. That's
back.
where my questions
'Cause we're
came
like,
from.
oh, well,
Uh,
what if?
Exactly, exactly. We're going to give you just a few minutes, Ada, just to talk to our listeners, let them know what services you might offer them. I will say that I know some people that have told me that they have contacted
Mhm,
you for a reading and they think you're delightful.
mhm.
Oh,
So
thank you.
reach out to our listeners and let them know what you can do for them.
Hello, and thank you for having me on again. I'm completely blown away. It's been wonderful, and it's time has literally just disappeared and dissipated as we've
Hmm.
spoken. I can communicate with those in spirit, as you've heard me say on this show. And if you have questions about your loved ones or your intuitive abilities, if you have a desire to hear from those whom you love that are now in spirit, I'll do my best to give you a helping hand. It's a three-way communication, me to them and them to you through me. Okay. I'm just like a giant telephone receiver. All I do is hear what they're trying to tell me, and it comes in pictures, words, sounds, smells, things of that nature. And I communicate it to you so that you have a help in understanding how they work now. Okay.
Right.
And if you want to get a hold of me, I'm at naturallistening.com. You can reach me with my email address of adamay@naturallistening.com, all one word, lowercase.com. Naturallistening.com I've had for 11 or 12 years now. Okay, that's my website. And if you have a snag with it, please email me, because I've actually had a couple of people say, hey, I can't find you. It's missing. And we had some issues earlier. So please reach out to me, adamay@naturallistening.com, or even naturallistening@gmail.com, which is another of my email addresses. Naturallistening@gmail will get a hold of me. Okay.
Okay. Thanks. As always, we will have Ada May's contact information as part of the episode notes for the podcast and also on our website. If you have difficulty reaching her, you're always free to email us. As well, if you have a question you would like us to invite Ada May back and answer that question, send it to us by email. Other than that, we'll remind you again to please take care of yourselves. We know that is probably the biggest thing we can do to help ourselves continue to move forward. And that's what we need to do with our grief, is to move forward. We're not going to move on. We're just going to move forward. So with all that in mind, we're going to say farewell for today. Please come back. And again, please take care of yourselves as we all continue to live in grief.
Thank you so much for listening with us today. Do you have a topic that you'd like us to cover, or do you have a question from one of our episodes? Please email us at info@asiliveinGrieve.com and let us know. We hope you will find a moment to leave a review, send an email, and share with others. Join us next time as we continue to live and grieve together.